welcome to the Good Interview. I am your host, Colin Birch, and today I am fortunate enough to be speaking with the lovely Megan Bedingham from the Cavern, a beautiful, beautiful resort in the Drakensberg area. And they are much more than that, and we'll get into that. But firstly, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us, Megan. How are you doing today?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. Yeah, fabulous today. The sun's out. We're very happy to see the sun. We've had a lot of rain just recently, so yeah, everything's great. Thank you.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear it. Yeah, no, I haven't. Unfortunately, I have not been there. I would love to visit sometime because it does look like an incredibly beautiful place. So yeah, yeah. But anyhow, so the cabin has actually been in your family for about three generations now or more since 1941, essentially, if I'm correct in my research. And how I wanted to ask, how has it evolved throughout that time, and how have your core values shaped it in its growth?
Yeah, so our grandparents came here in 1941, and in his letter of proposal, my grandfather wrote this beautiful message to my grandmother saying that, our work will be to create beauty, to make the land more fertile, to make our living, and to leave the world better than when we first came into it. And
Mm.
that's I think, we only sort of found that when we turned 75, but it sort of resonates with everything we've done here at the Cavern. And my grandfather, when he arrived, he had to blast the rock from the sandstone cliff line to build the main lounge,
Wow.
and so, I mean, it's really is quite a legacy, and it's something that we have to share with people that visit us. But over the years, we've built it to try and modernize it a bit, but not to so that it loses what it is essentially all about. Yeah, so it's a generational sort of project, and we're just very lucky that we at the moment are, this space has been entrusted to us as the third generation.
All right, all right. And have you, when growing up, did you know that you were going to be doing this, that you're going to be working in it? Did you want to do it? Were you excited about the prospect of taking over?
Well, it's interesting because we grew up in a hotel, and so we weren't allowed to study hotel management or anything like that. We had to go and do other things because,
Okay.
my dad thought we needed to broaden our horizons. And he also cautioned us about coming back here because, family businesses are tricky things to get involved with. And also it depends, what happens in your life and who you meet and maybe where you go. And so he is very, yeah, he just said, don't rely on it as an option. And so I actually became a teacher. That was my first job. But I had always wanted to come back here. And I'm so glad that I am here.
Okay, that makes sense. That's okay. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So also then, I know you guys. One of the initiatives you provide is also to do with education. And how much do you partake in that?
Yeah, it's become a very big part of my life. I think that when we first got back here over 20 years ago, our main focus was, of sort of investing in the business and making the business really work well for our family. And in later years, I've been able to redirect my sort of focus and look at things bigger than just the business. And that's kind of how I've got into the sort of education side. I mean, obviously having your own children and watching them grow is sort of, but you have a passion as well, and so that's sort of driven my interest in education and also into the project work that we do.
Okay, that makes sense. So sustainability, right, is the movement is grown exponentially in the last 2 decades or so, and it's becoming more and more of a priority for travelers too. So I wanted to ask, how do you guys incorporate eco-conscious practices, and how do your guests experience that?
Yeah, so I think it's responsible trade and doing things responsibly is a huge part of business today. I think the world over kind of expects it. Um, but this whole thing with they Bill Carter, you wrote about, leaving, sorry, making our living and also but making the land more fertile is really about sort of restoring it to its pristine
Yeah.
state. So, for many years, that has always been our focus, eradicating invader species. We put in a solar farm so that we would, be able to, have power during the day that sort of runs the business. But I think it's also in the everyday things that you do. It's looking at every single part of your business. So, whether it's your guest tea and coffee suppliers, what we did is we got rid of wrapped tea bags, and put them into glass jars because all of that packaging just creates more waste. We stopped selling plastic water bottles. We have a dispenser and which has got a lovely purifier in it, and we sell water and sparkling water through that so that we're reducing our, waste as well. Um, we take tea bags and we recycle them and use them as firelighters. So I
Mm.
think sustainability and being responsible is more than just ticking boxes for large organizations, but rather examining every single facet of your business and saying, well, how can I do this better? How can I be more sustainable? Our laundry, we sun dry our towels, for example. They're a little bit, they can be a little bit harder because they don't have that fluffiness maybe all the time. But these are things that actually help the environment in the end, and that make our businesses more sustainable. And I think people choose to support places that are moving in that direction. I think it's hugely important.
No doubt, no doubt. I love what you said there as well, about not only keeping the environment or helping the environment to get it back to a point of it being pristine, and also the what you say about not just checking boxes, but actually being forward thinking, going out of your way to actually examine everything that could actually be causing an impact and how to lessen that impact in general. I think it shows a lot of one's passion actually in if you can not just mechanically go through the motion, so to speak, but are actually actively taking part in something like that. So good on you. That sounds beautiful.
Thanks.
So as manager and owner, how do you navigate between your rich tradition and of culture and history when in general everything is very fast paced and it moves and it changes very quickly? Yeah, how do you guys still stay true to your roots whilst navigating and plotting ahead?
Yeah, I think that's kind of the challenge in hospitality. It's you don't want you want your guests to come in and be comfortable. You want them to have a lovely stay. Um you can't always supply all the mod cons. Like even Wi-Fi for us is quite a challenge, to try and get it. People sort of are beginning to expect it in every single bedroom. We haven't got to that point yet, but we have it in all our superior rooms and suites as a starting point. And there is, hotspots in and around the main buildings. But it's trying to find a careful balance with all of that because in a lot of ways too, even though we all want the Wi-Fi, we also want to escape from it and we want to have that downtime and we want to be immersed in nature and we want to really have a break from the things that actually create noise in our heads.
Mm.
And in order to do that, we sometimes have to take a step away and a step out. And yeah, and it's a tricky thing keeping the balance between what's modern and what is restorative and what feeds our souls. Um, but I think at the Cavern we've managed to get quite a good balance with that. So I think that, we try and we do continual upgrades to our accommodation. We're always looking at tweaking and changing things. We added a spa to our offering because we knew that people love that experience and it sort of complements the hiking and the outdoor and the adventure. And so I think it is really about continually looking at your business and seeing how you can still remain relevant in a changing world.
Yeah, that does make sense. Yes, and it is funny though to think that yes, it's the Wi-Fi and all these modern luxuries and well now becoming necessities that it's just expected to be everywhere. And especially in a place like the Cavern, right, where the whole point is to reconnect with nature, to be there. You don't want people to just be inside the whole time. You want you want them to also just explore a bit, have fun,
Yeah.
and yeah, get away
Yeah.
from all that
And
noise.
sometimes, yeah, and I think sometimes sometimes go out of their comfort zone. I mean, I think, that's a great thing for growth in a person, and even just sort of doing something that's adventurous and different. I think that those are important things to do as people. And especially for children too. Yeah.
Yes, no doubt, no doubt. It's like the formative years, you need to be able to experience a whole or a wide variety of things and not just be caught up in a box. Yeah, I think that would make a what I don't know why this came to mind now, but I'm thinking of the of a movie. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. Uh,
No,
anyway,
just and just I mean, and I think for children too, that you have these sort of wild spaces where they can climb trees and they can risk taking is such a big part of growing up, and also just learning how to manage risk. If we sort of keep our children all coddled up and cotton wool, we don't allow them that, then later on in life, when they have to make bigger choices, that the risks they are much bigger and more scary, and the consequences are more frightening. And all of these things actually start with little children in small playgrounds and experiencing and doing these things. And that's what nature provides. It provides this natural space for families and kids and people. Yeah.
yeah, that you make a very, very important point there. Because if you aren't entrusted to actually make your own decisions, you'll never actually be able to make your own decisions because you're
Mm.
constantly going to be torn between various options and never going to be able to really say like, no, this is actually what I need to do. So yeah, no, it
Yeah.
makes sense. So if you could describe the Cavern in 3 words. What would it be and why? How do they capture the essence of what you guys do?
Well, yeah, I think 3 words would be just the great outdoors, because
Mm,
that's what it is. We are sort of situated at the end of the road. We're surrounded by a beautiful, you know, little range of mountains that sort of hug us and protect us. And there are amazing beauty spots to visit and explore. And it really is the great outdoors. There's something very, I think, nature is medicine actually.
mm.
And since COVID, we all know how much we need it. It's vital.
It really is. It really is. And so, just out of curiosity, you probably have a favorite spot hidden away there somewhere? Do you mind describing it?
Sure. Um, I don't really have a spot. I think my thing is it's like moments.
Mm,
And I think it's about taking moments. So there's so many beautiful places here. There's a gorgeous waterfall in the Fern Forest. There's Maze Falls. There's the grotto. Castle Falls Dam is beautiful for a sunset. But
mm.
it's the moments actually in life that are the things that I think that we've got to stop for, and sort of enjoy. Um, and I mean, there just are so many places here that are very special to me, and things like swimming in the dam and doing those sort of things are just those are very cool.
Mm.
Yeah,
No, that makes sense. You say it's the moments, the little things that really make it worthwhile. And I mean, if you're surrounded
yeah,
by nature and by beauty, we can often also kind of turn our environment into a wallpaper of sorts if we don't actively go out and participate in it. So yes, it makes sense. It makes sense. So also, could I ask, what have been some of your most memorable moments in with your time at the Cavern?
yeah. So I think I sort of I've thought about moments, and like if there was one incident or one occasion that sort of changed things remarkably, and can't really pinpoint anything because for me life is just it like evolves, and we do things as things happen. But I think sort of defining things have been like when we were little we used to have tea at 11 o'clock and at 4 o'clock every single day with our grandmother. And as we became older, we used to have evening drinks with our parents and our grandparents and sort of extended family and guests. And those and meal times, we're always sitting around a table, and there's always been active conversation and many arguments. I mean, I think in a family business, that's just part of it.
Yeah.
It's you have to hassle each other until you kind of come up with the solution to things. But all of those moments together and those times together, that's what sort of creates very strong bonds in a family. And I think it helps you, to navigate business. It helps you just to navigate daily life. It helps you to sort of get through challenging situations. And I think that what that has done it for our family certainly has it's strengthened things. So my dad and his brother, they built the Cavern. Well, they the grandparents first, then my dad and his brother in the 70s, sort of building it up into something really that worked really well. And then in 2000, they then moved down and they developed a new lodge called Montousi Mountain Lodge. And now, as sort of cousins growing up here at the Cavern, 6 of us live within 10 kilometers of each other. And we still help each other if there's a fire, if there's flooding, if there are any of these sort of massive things which need lots of hands. There's a community of people who will come together to help. And those sort of things are strengthened by the tea times, by the drinks around the fire, by the meals. And so I think that is what makes it keeps things strong within the people that matter most to you and to help you the most and help you build things. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. Yeah. Yeah. So again, I also wanted to find out from you on a personal level, right? How has your involvement in the Cavern helped to shape your perspective on life, and just in general, how has it helped you to kind of maneuver your own landscapes?
Um, I think, I think I've always had there's a strong connection to the business and the place, and that's like an emotional tie. And I think that what I've learned over my years of being here is that it takes a huge amount of work to make it work.
Mhm.
These things don't, and hospitality is it's not an easy industry. It's very
Yeah.
competitive. It's become more competitive. It's just, in terms of like, we just look at stats from KZN just recently that, in 2018, there were almost 100,000 visitors into Royal Natal National Park. The last set of stats that came out show that number's dropped to about 50,000. Now, all of these things are worrying statistics. And, so I think what I've really learned is that you have to just keep working hard, and you have to keep on, it's about consistency. It's not about, you can't just come in, there's no silver bullets. You just have to work at every single thing that you do in your marketing. You have to do, you have to tick all the little boxes in the guest experience. And life is not, it's not easy, and it's not simple, but it can be very fulfilling. And I think that we have tremendous purpose here.
Mhm.
And that's why we love what we do, and we love where we are, and we love to be involved in community projects like, our education projects, because it gives us profound purpose and makes our lives real. Yeah.
Okay, I see. I see. So, do you mind delving into some of your initiatives that you guys provide, such as the education?
Yeah. We started off in 2006. My cousin actually lost her little boy, and it was in that
Oh,
year that we decided that we would focus our attention into helping other children. And so initially we reached out into our community, and we identified 5 preschools, and those 5 preschools have now grown into 20, almost 20 preschools now. And we're helping about 850 children over in the Greater Amazizi village. And then we run a school called Royal Drakensberg, and we've got about 130 children. It's an independent school, so we have to find all our funding to run that school. But Royal Drakensberg really has become our sort of center of excellence, and we work out from there. And all of our staff that work with us at Royal Drakensberg help to work out into the community. And so we've also developed a program called Baby Boost, and that was through a wonderful guest who visited us. And so all of these, these initiatives have just evolved in a time when we sort of saw a need, and then we got partners who would help to support us. And so, it's grown into something that's fairly significant, and that we are incredibly proud of. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No, it makes sense. I like the organic growth that it seems that has taken place because again you take note of what could be done, where it's lacking, or where something could actually be built, and you find a way to do it. And as you actually mentioned in the previous question, right, that life is not always easy. It's not always simple. There's a lot going on, but it's in the working through it, in the getting through it, that you actually find that fulfillment. I've found a lot of the time.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
definitely. Mm.
Mhm. So I also wanted to find out, right? So about some of the challenges that you guys have had, or that you have had during your time. Then how have you managed? Or what have been some of the biggest challenges, and how have you managed to get through them?
Yeah, I mean, I think COVID will always stand out as an
Mm.
enormous challenge, particularly in hospitality, because we had to close our business for 4.5 months, and you had absolutely zero income, and
Yeah.
yet you still had expenses, and that was initially quite frightening,
Mhm.
and when we didn't know if it was going to end, that became even more scary. But we during lockdown we started to just share sort of we had a thing on social media, nature to you, and we would just share daily posts of what we were up to, because we could hack, and we were very actually blessed to be where we were because we had space,
Mm.
and
Mm.
it wasn't as difficult as maybe people living in town. But yeah, and then we came up with the idea of like selling lockdown vouchers and for future stays, and that managed to sort of help us to just bump up our cash flows, and we knew then that we would be absolutely fine, and that only comes because we had a community of supporters who sort of helped us. They all bought future stays, they all came and used them over the next sort of, I think, 18 months, and that was brilliant. But that comes from a long legacy from the Cavern. A lot of people knew us. They knew that we would do everything to make sure we didn't go out of business, and they trusted us with a future stay. And so yeah, we managed to survive that, and here we are today. Sort of still bumbling along and doing our thing, and welcoming guests, and enjoying life in the mountains.
Yeah, okay, that's beautiful. But I like the idea of bringing nature to you. When people were locked up inside and weren't able to. That's a beautiful idea. I really like that. So needed, so necessary.
Yeah.
Um, so if there was, yeah, what exactly would you want your guests to take away from their stay here there at the cabin?
Well, I mean, I think you want everyone to have a lovely time. I think that's
Mm.
just kind of goes with hospitality. But I think it's more than that. You want them to experience the beauty of the place and of the surrounds and of the nature. And the beauty at the Cavern is not just about like, what your room looks like, or, how tasty your meal was, but rather the beauty is in the bonds of the family and the reconnections of the couples. And that that is essential, I think, in a holiday and in a time away.
Mm.
So if we get that right, I think that we've helped people more than just by giving them like a lovely stay. Um, there's something much deeper than just that experience. And I think that we also want people to leave here feeling like they have experienced the nature, and that we have done the job of keeping things pristine and beautiful, and that we can keep doing that for future generations, because essentially, natural spaces are you sort of under threat in the world.
Mm.
Populations are growing, and I think we have to have a commitment to ensuring that these natural places remain for future generations, that they can also have the opportunity to be immersed in it, to be restored by it, and to enjoy it. And the one of the sort of latest developments in our areas is that this has all been proclaimed a nature reserve. Private landowners have got together, and that is essential for the future, I think.
That's very wholesome. That's very wholesome. I like it. So, are there any?
It's all.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah. No, I was gonna just say it could be all like out in the sky, and it can all be a bit sort of, but these are things that are actually important. They
Mm.
are things that kind of keep us together as people, and make us, strong enough to take on challenge in life. And that's the important part, I think. Yeah.
No doubt, I could not agree more. Especially these days when or relationships seem very fractured between people. I've always maintained that that people have a bad PR rep because you rarely see people talking good of the species in general. So yeah, so it is very
No.
necessary. Mm.
Yeah. No,
Uh,
good.
so if you had any message that you would like to give to the community or to our viewers listening, what would that be?
Well, I think it takes all of us to make things better, and it takes commitment. And South Africa has so much potential, and if we all kind of work together, we can actually create something really beautiful. And yeah, that's just, I suppose that's just kind of my hope for the future is that, we get through all of these tough times and actually, keep moving towards what is good, um,
Mm.
and what is sustainable and what helps everybody and not just, maybe a few people. I think we've got to think bigger.
100%. I could not agree more, really. It's Yeah, it's so necessary. And because, I mean, yes, as you said, right, South Africa is such a beautiful place, not only in terms of just the nature around us, but in terms of our cultures. We are so rich in just in our, yeah, well, as I said, in our cultures, that it would be a shame to let that kind of dwindle away. And I don't believe that it will. I honestly don't think so. I don't think that we will ever let that happen. I think that we have the spirit to to get through it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, KZN is a, if it's the most vibrant of the provinces, and it really has so much natural beauty. And yeah, I mean, I just think there's so much that can be shared and enjoyed. And yeah, it takes work, and we've got to work at it to make it good, but we can.
Yeah, we can and we will. Yeah, I believe it. I believe it. Keep the positivity, man. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So thank you so much, Megan.
Definitely.
Yeah. This has been a thoroughly entertaining conversation. I really enjoyed getting to know a bit about you and a bit about the Cavern itself. I would highly recommend all our viewers to check the Cavern out. It really even if it's just to look at the pictures. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. It really is a beautiful place. And yeah, with a mindset like yours, and a bond that lasts like what with your well as your family has over the last few generations, right? They've all built up and created something that is very unique, I would say. And I really enjoy what you guys do and who you are and what, yeah. So I wish you guys nothing but continued success and prosperity, flourishing, in fact. And yeah, let it be good.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's been great to chat, and it's lovely to share. And and we here in the mountains, we'd love to see as many visitors as possible. Thanks, Colin.
No problem. And to our viewers at home, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate you. We appreciate you. We couldn't do it without you. And remember, keep it good, keep it positive. Let's keep it going, guys. Peace out.